Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 54th lesson of A Course in Miracles, y'all. And what do I say every week? I am so very excited. I'm so very excited for today's session. Let me start with the Course in Miracles lesson. The 54th lesson states, and we are in a review period, it states, I am determined to see. I am determined to see. And the lesson states, recognizing the shared nature of my thoughts. I am determined to see. I would look upon the witnesses that show me the thinking of the world has been changed. I would behold the proof that what has been done through me has enabled love to replace fear, laughter to replace tears, and abundance to replace loss. I would look upon the real world and let it teach me that my will and the will of God are one. And today, everyone, we are joined by someone who has been blessed enough to see and experience the love of Source. Jason Janas, in his most vulnerable moments, cried out to God. And in that moment, his life changed. And he's here to tell us about it. So, Jason, I'm so very excited to have you join us today on the sharing group. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes. So we want to get right into your spiritual experience and let us know what happened.
Sure. So we have to go back a couple years. Now, I do want to put this out there that this is my experience, and by no way or means am I telling anybody to do anything. This is simply my experience and the information that was given in that moment and that still come to me. So I want to put that out there. So we'll get into it. It was April 2nd of 2020. So it was like the start of COVID. And, for the previous couple weeks, I was waking up with this like taste of blood in my mouth. And I'm like, did I bite my tongue or nothing? Nah. I come home, have dinner, and I'm finding it difficult to breathe. And I'm watching TV and I'm eating dinner, and I began to cough up blood, bright red blood, covered my plate, covered everything, and just very difficult to breathe. So I frantically was calling and FaceTiming my ex-wife. She's a nurse. I got a hold of her, but I don't remember much after. I don't remember anything after that. I remember waking up in the ICU room. It was dark, tube in my mouth. My hands and feet were strapped to the bed, kind of like, out to the sides, and feet out to the sides, and IV in my neck. I was in excruciating pain. Oh, it was horrible. But from the moment when I awoke, I immediately turned to the left, and there's a TV up in the corner, and someone was there. It was undeniable. The whole time I was in the ICU for the month, I just kept staring at the TV. I was like, somebody's there. I could feel it, even though I couldn't see it. I could feel it, and as time goes on, and the nurses were like, do you want me to turn the TV on? I can't speak. So I just like, no, and I'm like, how do you tell somebody there's somebody there? They're going to think I'm nuts. There's somebody right there. And it felt peaceful, and I was just like, somebody's there, and after, I had recovered, I got off the ventilator. And I was so, I don't know what's the way to put it. I was so beaten. I mean, I was beaten. I lost 75 pounds. I couldn't talk. I was lethargic. And I was just beaten. I had nothing left to give emotionally, physically, mentally. And that presence was still there. So I remember it was a beautiful afternoon, late afternoon, April. And with everything that I could muster, I tried to get up on my elbows and I was shaking uncontrollable. And I just, for the first time now, I should backtrack before I get into this. I grew up Catholic. I was a Christian, so I went through all the sacraments, went through everything, and I firmly believed that the Bible was God's word, and that there was heaven, there was hell, and that, if you weren't the quintessential good human being, then you were going to burn, and from an early age, from about 7 or 8, I felt something just didn't jive. That, what do you mean? He's waiting up there just to send me to hell because he hates me because I'm going to fall down or mess up? I said, that just doesn't seem right. So I quit going to church. I quit having anything to do with it. And that was my last conversation with God. Didn't pray to him, didn't talk to him or Jesus. But if somebody would have asked me, Jason, do you believe in God? Absolutely, 100%. No doubt. So Jesus too, absolutely. So now, after everything that took place, was my first conversation with God in over 42 years. And as I was shaking, I couldn't talk because of the tube that was in my throat. So it was more, basically I said, God, please. And I'm talking to the TV. I'm having a conversation with the TV. God, please don't let me die. Please. I said, I'm sorry I abandoned you. I said, I don't deserve to have you answer me. I said, but I love you and I love Jesus. And I said, I'm truly sorry for abandoning you. And I said, please forgive me. I said, please don't take my daughters. Let me see my daughters, please. And I said, I love them, and I just went on. And there was somebody in my life who I love immensely, haven't seen in a while. And I said, but please, you can't take her from me. Please, please. I cannot go home and know that she's still here. And it was in my describing my love for her that everything stopped. Instantly, the pain was gone. I was engulfed in this unbelievable light and love, this unconditional love. There's no words on this planet that can describe home. It was warm, it was unconditional love, and everything happened within a trillionth of a second. I could see everything behind me. I could see the whole ICU floor, except this time I'm looking down. I could see the grass, and the grass was alive. It had its own soul. I could see each blade of grass moving independently, and it was happy to see me because they were looking towards me. The tree had a soul. I could see the tree's souls. And as I'm standing there in shock, engulfed in this love, I was like energized, like, ugh. I was young again, and I was like, I thought the telepathically, I'm thinking in my head, I'm home, but I spoke it, mouth never moved. And I'm sitting here just embraced and engulfed in this love. I mean, there's no love on this earth that can come close to Father's love. And I knew instantly where I was. Like I said, I'm home. How is that possible? Being a human being, I knew exactly where I was, and I know who was standing in the TV. That was Father. He knew exactly that moment in time that I was going to die, and he knew because we had set it up that way. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But he was waiting for the moment for me to call, and he knew what was going to happen. So I'm embraced by his love. I'm engulfed in his love. Nothing was ever spoken except for me. And then my next thought was, what a beautiful day to die. And again, I spoke it. And I was like, I had no love for this body. I didn't think about my children anymore because everything was right where we needed to be. Everything was perfect. Everybody on the earth at that moment in time was right where they needed to be. And everything was perfect. And I was, home with God, with Source, with Father, and I was just held in his love and his embrace. And, it was conveyed to me, I've always been here with you. I am you, you are me, and I've never left you, you know. Um, and I felt an unbelievable amount of guilt. He never judged me. He never condemned me. He just loved me. And I was the one that felt the guilt and remorse for the things that I have done in my life, not Father. And then as I'm in there and enjoying his embrace, and I'm, not I want to go home. Jesus showed up, and my gaze turned, or my eyes turned towards now the front. And Father was here, and then off in front of me was Jesus, and it was so much. I could feel his love for me. It was overwhelming. It was intense. It was hot. It was warm, and it was just so much love. And I realized my love for Father and Jesus was also there and giving my love to them. And I'm like, it was the most beautiful experience of my life. It truly was. And I'm just engulfed in this light and love. And I was, who you are, where you come from, everything in a blink of an eye. You are one with the universe. And I merged with myself, my higher consciousness, which is still home. We're all still home. This is nothing more than an avatar. You're an avatar, I'm an avatar. None of this what's taking place down here is real. And when you realize that, I'm like, wow. And the only thing that matters that was conveyed to me was love. We are love. We are created out of Father. Father is nothing but unconditional love and peace and light. And we are all light, energy, and love. That is all we are. Three simple ingredients: love, light, and energy. And, when I tell people this and I say, yeah, well, this and well, then why are bad things happening? Why doesn't God come down here and fix it? Well, first of all, I have to explain to people. I say, I need you to understand this before I get into it. I said, imagine a white room, the floor, the ceiling, the walls, everything is this beautiful, magnificent white. Okay. Just beautiful. Now you're in that room and you're the exact same color. You match the walls, the ceiling. So my next question to him or to you is like, how do you know you're white? And when people hear that question, they go, I say, so we come from perfection. We are perfection. All we know is love. I don't know what it's like to be beaten up. I don't know what it's like to be shot. I don't know what it's like to get in a car accident. We come here to experience what we cannot experience at home. So we choose all of these experiences because it goes back to that example I gave you. How do you know you're white? Well, how do you know what a Snickers bar tastes? You don't. You come down here or you incarnate on earth to experience those things. And what helps us grow, it's learning. This earth is nothing but a school. It is nothing but a school. Forget everything you've ever known. That includes organized religion, Catholicism, the Bible. The Bible is wrong. Bible is beautiful in most ways, but it is also very, very wrong. There is no hell. There is no sin. There's no good or bad here. It is simply an experience that you're having, I'm having, the neighbors are having. We're all on different timelines. And sometimes our timelines merge. We meet. We have some wonderful times or bad times or whatever experience you wanted. And then we go. It's like when you go to a grocery store. Do you talk to everybody in the grocery store? No. Why? You're not meant to. You're not meant to talk to them, So they're not meant to be in your life. People that are meant to be in your life, whether we want to label it as good or bad. Well, she talked to me, well, that's probably one of your soulmates that you've asked them to give you that experience. When you see how simple life truly is, we've complicated the heck out of it. We really have. We've messed it up so bad. But knowing this, we're right where we need to be. We are evolving. The earth is evolving. The earth is growing. We are growing. We are on the verge of merging into 5D consciousness in about 100 years. the world is going to be at peace. There will be no more wars. There'll be no more hunger, famine, homelessness. But in order to get there, we are going to go through some tragic things. The COVID thing is meant to happen. And after that, the world is going to say no more. As a consciousness, as we're growing, we're no more. We don't want that. We're evolving. We are getting higher in our consciousness, and that is pushing us closer to being home. And eventually, Earth is not going to be a free will planet anymore. It'll be a planet that we can still incarnate into, but we will still feel home. We won't be cut off. The reason we have free will is we're cut off from home. That's your choice. You make mile markers. Say you want to be married, you want to have kids, you want to go to college, mile markers. How you get to those mile markers is free will. You can go straight there, or you can zigzag, serpentine, but eventually you're going to hit A. Eventually you're going to hit B. How you do that is your free will. And God's allowing you to do that with being incarnating here on Earth. So, and with that being said, we've all died 2,000 to 3,000 times or more. We are simply here to learn. When when you can see how beautiful that is, death is simply the most beautiful transition that you'll ever have. Most people fear it because they don't know how they're going to die. You've chosen how you're going to die and how you're going to go home. But people are terrified of the unknown. And I don't want people to be terrified. I want them to understand that, Father, first of all, you're never alone. I don't care if you're in your house by yourself, you live by yourself, you're out walking by yourself. God is right there with you. Your angels and your guides are right there with you. And you're never alone. Father hears you, he sees you, and he feels you. You are never alone. You are just simply experiencing what you chose to experience here by your soulmate, believe it or not. And your soulmate would never do that. People have to stop thinking 2D, earth minds. We're very narrow minded here. We don't have our true consciousness. So when we're home, you're like, I want to experience this. And some of your soulmates will say, no, I'm not doing that to you. No, I'm not going to blow you up. Sorry. And then finally you'll get one that's fine. Okay. Then you incarnate, and that time comes and there you go. The situation occurs. And then we're stuck. Oh my God, that was horrible. Why did that happen to me? God's forsaken. No, he hasn't. He's just allowing what you chose to happen. So when somebody says, well, if that was the case, then God's not going to come and intervene. We are going to be the ones who say, no more. No, I don't want that. And then, we are going to evolve. And when we achieve that 5D consciousness, we are going to be much more intelligent, to the point of where we might even look a little bit different humans. We won't be eating as much. We won't be, people, we tend to think that us humans, we're just like the cat's pajamas, like we're so intelligent. I'm telling you right now, we are very primitive. We are extremely primitive compared to the other worlds that we come from. Meaning, well, what do you mean come from? Well, home is home, but we don't incarnate here on Earth right away. There's no way. Why? Because it's hard. Life here on Earth is hard. So we incarnate and others get galaxies far, far away. And we live there. Why? Because we're still connected to home. We still feel home. Yes, we have other wives, other husbands, other children, other soulmates that, are waiting for us when we come home. So we start out there and we get traction under our feet. We get going, and then all of a sudden you come to Father and say, I want to go to Earth. You say, okay, you draw up your plan, you sit down with your guides and you draw up what you want to do. You create your contract. This is when I want to go. You bring it before our Father, like me, you, everybody else. And he'll say, okay. And, he may say, it's this is going to be rough. It's going to be hard. He's like, yep, I know, but let's go. And then we do it, and it's that simple. Our lives are that simple. It's, the only thing he asks of us, you can do no wrong here, none. And the only thing he asks for us is love one another. So when Jesus came here, I'm going to give you another story. So he says, I got to do something. You know, we're lost. And I'll be the first one to admit, I was lost for 50 years, completely lost in the dark, wandering around, thinking I'm just King Kong and I can do whatever I want. And well, I was politely shown, you're not the cast pajamas, pal. This is who you really are. And I was just blown away. But anyways, so he comes to all of us and says, hey, Father says, hey, I've got I need someone for this. And this is what I need. You know, you're going to be nailed to a cross. You're going to do this and this. And I need somebody. Anybody want to do it? Oh, man. No, I don't. No, no, not really. So Jesus walks forward and says, I'll do it, Father. And he says, you know, this is going to be hard. He says, I know, but I'll do your will. He says, okay. And he says, well, now I need somebody to do this, which is betray him and do this. And, you know, again, nobody answers. So Judas walks up and he puts his arm around Jesus and says, I'll do it, Father. And Father equally says, do you know this is going to be very hard? I know. But if Jesus can do it, I can do it. I'll do it. There you go. So Jesus comes, and this is part of why I left Christianity. Jesus did not come here to save us from sin. Sin does not exist, nor does hell. Okay? Jesus simply came here to show us how to love unconditionally, whether you're black, white, pink, purple, you have leprosy, you've been an adulterer, which that doesn't even exist. No matter what you've done, he loved them unconditionally, hugged them, kissed them, and yes, through God's power, healed them, including raising them from the dead. Nobody on this earth would do that if they did not love you unconditionally. And in my moment of transition, and I knew in my head, or so I thought, that I was a bad person because I've done horrible things. I wasn't a nice person. It was all about me, and you know, and they showed me the love that they have for me, and that I did nothing wrong, nothing wrong. And I was just engulfed in their love, their unconditional love. And it was as warm as the sun. It would be like you sitting in your apartment or your home at 68 degrees, and you walk outside and it's 98 degrees with 80% humidity. You feel that hit of heat. And that's what it was like. That was the warmth of their love, but it flowed through me like I was placed in a river. Instead of the water moving around me, the love and the warmth flowed through every part of my being. Every part of my being. I know who I was. So Jesus simply came here to tell us and show us how to love. That was it. That was his mission. And he accepted his fate. He says, no, I do this of my own free will. And that is absolutely the correct answer. He did it of his own free will, like you and I are here on our own free will to experience life. It's an experience that you cannot get at home because all you know and all you are is love. To experience everything that is not white is to come here to experience that. And to me, seeing that is the most beautiful thing I've ever been shown. None of this is real here on earth. You know, this is simply, we are experiencing duality. People say, well, heaven and hell. We were kicked out of heaven. No, we weren't. We were given a choice. Do you want to live like I created you, or do you want to experience duality? So we chose duality, right? So yeah, this suitcase that we're in isn't real. It's like when you go on a vacation, you unpack all your clothes. What do you do with the suitcase? You throw it in the closet, and that's what this is. It's just a disposable suitcase that when we're done with it, we go home, and we're going to have another suitcase somewhere else. It could be back here, or it could be, you know, somewhere else. And that's the beauty of it all. You know, we are in the greatest love story ever, but we've just forgotten it. You know, we are love, and we're here to, you know, try and dish out as much love as possible. Like I said, God, Father didn't hold one bit of judgment against me. I was the one in his presence feeling unworthy of his love because of what I had done down here. But he was like, no, I told you this was going to happen. If you didn't come back to me by this time, well, here we are. Here we are. And it was that moment that brought me back to him, just like it was planned, beautifully planned and executed. Now, was it hard? Yes. But I realize now why I chose my parents. My parents were abusive. I grew up I was abused, abused. I'm not going to throw them under the bus. I forgave them. A part of me will always love them, but I understand why I went through the beatings and the hittings and all of these things, because in that moment of my transition, I realized how much I learned from those experiences. Is it has made me incredibly strong and resilient. I don't care how many times you knock me down, I will get back up. And in that moment of learning how to walk again, learning how to talk, learning how to feed myself, people say, well, you've had this great experience, but you don't know, when I went home, I couldn't get up. I couldn't get out of bed. I had nobody to help me. But I relied on that resilience and strength, saying, no, no, and I know Father was right there. I know he was right there with me. And I forced myself at my first shower. It took me 6 hours in the shower because I could get my hand up to my face and then it would just fall. And I sat there in the water for hours because I couldn't move. But I learned how to walk. I learned how to talk. I learned how to drink again. I learned how to go to the bathroom again, all on my own. I would stand and hold the walls as I walk. I was basically a 50-year-old infant. And I knew Father was there, but I had to find out what had happened to me, why there was a lot of guilt. I went through a lot of guilt and depression in a year and a half after my NDE, because I'm like, well, why didn't you choose the Pope? Why didn't you choose somebody that's worthy? And his answer was to me, you are my son. You are worthy. You are me. You are no different. I am no different than you. You are no different than me. And we are no different than anybody on this planet. We are all this. We are all one. Every single one of us are the same. We all love one another immensely. We just don't remember it. And I was like, it was the most beautiful thing when you hear, I had never felt love like that my whole life. I never felt loved. And in that moment, he showed me the first person I had to love. So I'm going to ask you this. Do you love yourself?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Because I didn't my whole life. And he showed me in order to love someone, you have to love yourself first. You have to love yourself. And when I realized that, I was like, then the next lesson he showed me and taught me was forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself for allowing yourself to feel that way your whole life. Mm. And I was like, that was so deep. It was so, it reached into my soul. And, when I remember, at the end of my bed, when I was like, I give myself to you. I am yours. I do love myself and I love myself immensely. I think I am incredibly unique and beautiful. And I feel it every day in him. I feel him in me. I can feel him crawl. I can feel the love crawl through me like an octopus. It reaches every part of my being. I get very emotional all the time. I cry. Like last night, I was a wreck. I was sitting here watching something and it just hit me. And I was just a sobbing mess. And I'm like, look what you did to me, man. Seriously, look what you did to me, and I'm just teasing him because I talk to him all the time. I talk to him all the time, and I just have a conversation with him like you and I are talking right now. He doesn't, do you need to be on your knees? No. Does he care? No. Does he care about your religion? No. Religion to him is it's like insignificant, he does not care about your religion at all. He cares about how much love you're putting into the world. Did you walk by that homeless person? Did you ask him, are you okay? Did you have anything to eat today?
Yes.
You know what? I love you. Go buy him a burger and a sandwich. He chose that experience. Why? Again, we don't know what it's like to have those types of experiences, and he's growing from it. Everybody is. Whether you're like my situation, I financially struggle, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle every day, especially now, that being in this world, being it's not real, and having no love of materialism anymore. I have no love of money, no love. I don't care about clothes, any of the things that we need on a daily basis. I no longer care about. They're insignificant. They're meaningless. It's a tool like a wrench or a screwdriver that we have to get through in this life to achieve our goals, our contract, to finish our contract, our mission, whatever you want to call it. And we use those tools, money, clothes, whatever, to get through. But people have become so attached to them. Like, I've got to have $500 million in the bank before I've got to have 4 houses. I've got to have my Corvettes. I've just lost every ounce of interest in any of it. But it's something we come here to do. And I understand the game that we're in, and I've got to play the game and finish the game. And I'm going to do that. But he showed me my purpose here on earth, and it was to discuss him. It was to do these interviews. I'm trying to write a book. So I'm trying to write the book on my experience and all the things that I'm talking about here, and get it out there because, Father is using me as a messenger. I'm not a prophet. I'm not this. I am simply a messenger, to talk about him, to let everybody know I'm right here. I'm right here. I've never left any of you. I love you all unconditionally. You're all beautiful. We're all one. And, we're just here to experience life. We as a society, we like to label things. Well, that was good. That was bad. That was wrong. That was, no, there is no right or wrong here. There is no good or bad. We simply come here for the experience so we can grow spiritually. So some of the things that happen to us, we look at it and say, well, that was bad. It's not. It's simply an experience. That's all you went through. Society will label it Catholicism or organized religion. Well, that was horrible. He shouldn't have done that, or she shouldn't have done. Says who? You or Father? Father's saying no, just fine. Everything's fine. So when I see that, I just look at life like when I'm driving, I go to get groceries, like, here we go, back into the matrix, back into the game, got to deal with the life and reality when really none of it's life and none of it's reality. This is simply an illusion that we're all living in, a bubble. We all have our little bubbles and our little timelines that we're going through. And like I say, sometimes we just intercede, like you and I set this up before we even came down to this earth, saying, what, this is what we're going to do. And, and here we are, otherwise I never would have met you had I not had that NDE and so on and so on. The wheels on the bus keep going round and round, so it's all beautiful. I get a lot of messages like, hey, what about, I'm a Mormon and my son is gay. And, well, is he going to burn in hell? Well, hell doesn't exist. I've had bisexual experiences. I want to know what it was about. Part of me feeling unworthy, thinking, there it is in the Bible, homosexuality, burn in hell, you're no good. Wrong. No, it was simply an experience that I chose to have. One, he already knew it was going to happen. Why? Because you wrote it into the contract. He already knows it's going to happen. So, no, I told you, well, how do you know? So I said, well, these were my experiences. And they just look at, so how did I make it into heaven? How did I go home? Your son is fine. He's simply just experiencing what he chose to experience, and then, well, what about, sex? I said, we're here to enjoy it. Enjoy it. Have lots of it. And, well, again, the white room, go back to the white room. You don't know, you are love. What is the ultimate form of love here on earth? When we want to express it with somebody, you're intimate, you have sex, you're sharing love. Beautiful. That's what God wants us to do. So have it, enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with it. Is it consensual? Is it loving? Is it fulfilling? Then enjoy. Don't listen to society and don't listen to religion. Religion's got it wrong. If you want to take every individual religion, Christianity, Muslim, Hindu, whatever, their first concept that ever comes out of any religion is love. Stop right there. Everything else can go away. Every fundamental religion, their first thing that they talk about is love. Even Muhammad said, we shall not kill each other, or to love. Stop. There it goes. Hell does not exist. It doesn't. So people interpret the Bible to their needs. If the Bible was real, if it was God's written word, how many versions of that written word are out there right now? So the Bible's wrong. We come from being perfect, and we are perfect, even in this form, believe it or not. Our spirit is perfect. So we come from perfection to being imperfect in this incarnated form, in this avatar. So do you not think that we're not going to fall down, do some things that, we might not have done? But it's a learning experience. So no, you're not going to be judged or condemned by anybody. We're revered, believe it or not, at home. They're like, all the angels and everybody, when you come home, they're so excited to see you, and they're like, wow, you're willing to go through these horrible things, and you come back with all of this knowledge. Your spirit has grown, immensely, and we keep coming here. You don't have to. Like I said, we've all died thousands of times. You and I have probably incarnated on this earth alone, probably 1,200 times. We've probably been on this earth for 10,000 years. This is just one of those avatars that we're in this time period, because we are needed right here. Don't think for 1 minute that your life or anybody's life here is insignificant. We are here for a reason, and we are vital to that plan. Every single one of us. You may not say, well, that's just another boring day, I'm going to do nothing. You're vital. You are needed right here, right now. No matter what you're doing, you are vital to Earth's transition and to Earth's growth and our growth. So don't ever think that you are not worthy or you're not important. You are. I don't care who you are. You are vital to what is going on, because the children being born now, I call them, they're the enlightened ones. Even though I have knowledge and it's still coming to me, the ones that are being born now, the babies being born now, are the enlightened ones, which means, well, what does that mean? It means that when they're born, they chose their parents, they chose their life, they chose everything. So now they're born, right? Well, now they remember all of their past lives. They're not cut off. They remember all of it. So now they're going to be bringing all of that knowledge to bear. They're going to push us to that higher level of consciousness, and we are going to evolve as a species, and they are going to be the ones that drive us and push us to world peace, love, no more homelessness, no more hunger, no more anything. Nations fall. The United States will no longer exist. Russia, France, everything. The world will be one. And hence, the world will no longer be a free will planet. Earth will have evolved. We will continue to evolve rapidly as a species. And God will pick another planet to be a free will planet, which, of course, we're going to go incarnate into, because we want to know what's there. But we may look like an alien. We may not look like this. So let me ask you this now, after I've been talking. So in a galaxy a long time ago, far, far away, does that exist? Star Wars?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, it does. Star Trek, does it? Is it real? Absolutely. 100%. That's when I tell people we are not an advanced species. We are not. We think we are, but I'm sorry to bust all your bubbles. Everybody watching this, that we are not a top of the line species or advanced. We are very primitive, very, very primitive. Don't think because you're walking around with your iPhone that you're all of a sudden a cat's pajamas. Well, guess what? You're not. So, but, we are beautiful. We are capable of such love, and you see it all the time, and we're going to reach the point where we don't want to know what's the opposite of white. We just want to know love, and we will push ourselves to that. And that's what's happening. You always got to go through the bad to get to the, and when you say we look back and you go, whew, we did it, right? And that's what's taking place. And that's why you see a lot of crazy things going on, because the earth is evolving, the earth is changing. The food's going to, the food crisis is going to continue. COVID was meant to happen, and when we reach that evolutionary transition, and then we're going to go from 5D up higher and higher until the point of where we merge with our consciousness, who we truly are, because like I said earlier, we're still all home. All of us are still home. This is just like a smidge. We get a little sugar on top of the cookies. Well, that's who we are down here. You take a little bit of us and put it in there, and off you go. And so when I merged with my consciousness, that's when I knew everything instantly. I'm home. How could I possibly know that? And that'd be the first words I utter. I'm home. So I was just me merging with myself, and the love, I know who it was. It was Father, and that was Jesus. I felt their love. Even though I couldn't physically see them, I knew exactly who was standing there. And yes, I didn't physically die at that moment, but what I went through, and I had no blood. The cause of my death was acute respiratory failure, hypoxia. So yes, even though my NDE didn't happen when that was happening, it wasn't meant to. We drew it up that way. So, I could talk about it, and my NDE was specific to me. Like everybody's NDE is specific to them. They have different things happening, things. Why? Because they're needed that way for them in that transition. Because let's face it, you come from this life and this brutality, and all of a sudden you're home, and this, you still have to have a downtime, a cooling downtime, and something that's going to make you feel at home and peaceful. So everybody's NDE is different, but the underlying fact of everything that everybody talks about is what? The love. It's because we are love, the number one ingredient in all of us. I don't see you, like I see you here. I see your soul, and you're like, your soul is just lit up like all of the world, all the lights are on, and you're so happy, and I can feel your energy of love. And that's who we are. And that's one of the things that was left with me, is I have become a true empath. When in my NDE, he stripped me of my pride, he stripped me of my hate, and he filled me with an unconditional love, empathy, and humility. And there are times, most days, when I wake up, I get out of the shower, I look in the mirror, I don't know the person staring back at me. He's dead. I see the same face, but what's inside isn't what I carried around for 50 years. That's all gone. It was terrifying. I'm like, I asked him, I said, who am I? Why did you make me this way? And as I'm doing research, a video popped up, and it comes down to personality traits, a lone wolf and a Sigma male. He said, this is who you are. This is who I need you to be down here. And this is why, and I was, he's always listening. People don't understand that when they say, God, please, he's listening he heard every word you're saying. He's feeling your love and emotion. He's not going to come down here and knock on the door like he did for me. He's not. But that doesn't mean that you're ignored, and I want people to understand that thoroughly, that when you talk to Father, it's got to come from your heart, and it's got to come from your soul. You've got to reach so far deep inside you that you're going to be lost when you talk to him, and then come from there and talk to him. Be real with him. He doesn't need you on your hands and knees sobbing and blah, blah. Talk to him. Have a conversation with him. That's all he's asking. It's all Jesus is asking for. Love. That is the key. That is the key to everything. And it's so beautiful. And I'm in love with myself. I'm in love with all of you. I see the good in everybody. And even when I see the shenanigans, we'll put it that way, I forgive you. Before you even do anything, I forgive you, because I know what you're doing, and it's just beautiful. So, this March, this is something I didn't tell you. I had gotten out of bed. I was emotional. I went to bed emotional that night. And, I said, I love you so much. Please, I want to come home. Please, please, please. And I wake up in the morning. And like I say every morning, good morning, Father. I love you. Good morning, Jesus. I love you. For all that I am you. And I love you. Thank you for everything. And for all those that don't understand and who are suffering immensely without food, shelter, they don't know it. I know it. But please comfort them. Please come to them. And that's my morning. But I got up and I was like, why couldn't I go through the tunnel? And I'm crying, you know, why couldn't I go through the tunnel? You kept me in the hospital. Why couldn't I have gone through the tunnel? And I was just like, just emotional. So I walked from my bedroom here and I laid down on the couch. And the moment I lay down on the couch, I was torn out of my body. Light speed, everything disappeared. And I was in this, people call it the void, but I was traveling through this black tunnel and out in the distance. When I mean distance, it was so far away. It just looked like a little snippet of light. But when I say void of light, I'm talking void of any light, period. I wasn't scared. I was peaceful. And I was just traveling so fast. And then light started to peer through the tunnel, kind of like you're going through hyperspeed. You get the light. And I felt unconditional love. And I said, I'm home. I'm going home. I'm home. All right. He's going to take me home. I'm going to die. I was like, oh, and the light got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I'm just traveling so fast. And it like got up to like right at my nose, and which is basically, people call it the point of no return. You pass that point, there's no coming back to your body. So he brought me right to that point. I knew exactly where I was. And I was so happy. And all of a sudden, woof, I was back in my body. And I'm like, and I just smiled and I was like, he's listening to me. He's listening, and he gave me, once again, exactly what I needed. I told him, I said, I want to come home. I want to go through, boom. So, I know every morning when I wake up that he's right here with me. I say he because when I say he, I don't mean to, it may confuse people. When in my transition, I felt like he was my father, that I was his one and only son, and I was adored and loved and everything. And so sometimes you'll hear me say he, but Father is always, always with you. And you are never alone, ever, 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 no matter what you're going through, husband in the hospital, children dying, whatever. He's right there with you, knowing that you're going to be needing him. And he's right there. He's just, waiting for you to call on him. Time doesn't exist. I don't know whether that moment in the ICU took 30 seconds or 5 hours. To me, it felt like 5 hours. I was just engulfed in love, looking at the grass, which was alive, the trees, which were alive, and souls. And I'll be walking out, I'll hug a tree now because they're alive. They deserve a hug too, So it's just like I see everything so differently and so beautifully now that, it has become a fundamental need to talk about this and to let people know that you have nothing to fear, that there is no sin, there is no hell. You're beautiful. You are heard. Father hears you. You're never alone, ever, ever alone. Even though you may be in your house or at work or wherever, you're not alone. Your guides are around you. You are engulfed and surrounded by love 24 hours a day. Father's just allowing you to experience what you came here to experience. And that is it. That is it.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I love, love, love how profound but yet simple your message is. I love that. It's in its simplicity. You cried out to God, God responded, and God is love, period.
That's it.
So I want to just start out with that, but there's so much to talk about. So first of all, I wanted to tell the viewers, okay, so Jason talked about a lot of in-depth truths. And if you are curious about what he was talking about regarding us choosing our experiences, first of all, that's the essence of A Course in Miracles, that we are here by choice, that there are no victims. As a matter of fact, there is a lesson that states, I am not the victim of the world I see. So I agree with Jason on that. I know a lot of it may have been hard to hear, but I encourage everyone, because there's so much, we can't go in depth and everything, but I encourage everyone, there's a parable that was written by Donald Neil Walsh. He was the one who wrote Conversations with God, all 3 books. And there is a parable, a child's parable called The Little Soul and the Sun. The Little Soul and the Sun. And basically, it encapsulates what Jason was talking about in regards to, there was a little candle who wanted to recognize itself as light, but it was by the sun. How do you see where the sun ends and the candle begins? And so this little soul went up to God and said, I want to experience that which I am. And God was like, you are light. That's what you are. And so I would have to place you into darkness in order for you to see your beautiful light. So it's a wonderful, wonderful parable. I love that it's a children's parable because it breaks down this very dynamic concept that Jason talks about, which is absolutely true. Absolutely true. On a soul level, we have chosen our experiences. This information, y'all, that's why I'm smiling so hard. This information that Jason has shared has been hidden from us.
I'll give you an example. And point, and like I said, we all have mile markers here, A, B, C, D, whatever. And my first mile marker was when my grandmother said, come on, Jace. I was like, it was like 1977, 78. Come on, time to go to church. And I remember kicking her. Said, don't you ever wake me up. I told you this is, well, it became from the abuse, when you think, why do I deserve to be beaten this way? I said, don't ever wake me up, ever. I don't want it. I don't need it. I'll do what I want. Mile marker A. Now we're going to skip over B because I didn't find out B until about a month ago. Then I hit C, right? And C is my death. So, and I'm like, well, why did this, and I realized why it happened was to bring me back to Father. I had reached, if I would have answered mile marker B, C never would have happened. I would have just whatever. So now we'll go back to B. So like you found me, another person had found me. And, as we were talking, she goes, I'm kind of a psychic and a medium. And, I have somebody here that is desperately trying. Are you an, I said, my uncle is still alive. No, this one died. Are you sure? I said, no. I've come to find out the person standing there was my son. He was born in a McDonald's bathroom stall. He was stillborn at he was only in there 4 months. So as I'm holding his body in my hand, it hardened my heart even more. I said, I'm looking at my son and I was so happy, but then, here, and when I was talking to the medium and I said, that's my son. She goes, yes. And he says, our dad, I remember you always wearing a hat and stuff. Well, how could you remember that? You were never born, but that's the power of the soul and how powerful each and every single one of us are. He says, Dad, I was never meant to be born. My mission was simply to bring you back to God. He said, that was it. I was never meant to be born. I chose you. I chose Mom. Yes. He says, but in that moment of my passing was hopefully to bring you to God, to say, God, please, I'm here. I love you. Whatever. He says, it didn't work. It didn't work. You and Mom split up, and I have a tidbit for you. He says, but you and Mom are going to get back together. And I'm like, I better talk to Mom about that because, and he laughed. He says, I love you, Dad. And I never heard my son say that to me. And I was like, but I found out 15 years later, because he's growing immensely in heaven. Even though we transition back home, we still learn. We are constantly learning, whether it's here on another planet, another world, back home. We are constantly learning. That's why Earth is no more than a school. So now I found out what mile marker B was. That was the death of my son, and which was to bring me back home, back to God. And it didn't. So C rolls around, I'm dead. Here we are. So it's pieces of the puzzle get filled in sometimes many, many years after that event had happened. But you can see, as now I see, how I planned my life in these stages and the difficulties that, have gone on in my life. And it's beautiful. So my son from home tells me, all of these things. And I was blown away by it. And that basically the simplicity of it was what he said. I love you, Dad. And I will see him again, so it's beautiful. But anyways, I just wanted to mention that.
Well, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I'm glad you were able to, get that clarity in your interaction. So you're saying that was supposed to bring you closer to God and it didn't. And so maybe the you being ill in the hospital was what finally connected you in that way.
Father said, if by the time you reach C, if you haven't come back, I'm going to allow you to live your life the way you want. That's fine. He says, but if you don't come back by C, this is exactly what's going to happen. And sure enough, by 5:30 at night on April 2nd, I was actively dying and died. So, and he was right there waiting, knowing that it was going to happen. When you can see how simple it is, I could see it now. And again, it was nothing more than experience, but I've learned so much. It's everything we go through is a learning process. Quit looking at it or labeling it as bad or good or this or that. Look at it for what it is. It is a learning experience. If you're not happy in your life, I tell this to people all the time, we simply come here to love, forgive, and live. Father wants us to live your life here. Live it. Fear does not exist. Fear does not exist. It is something we make up. God is love. God is light. Unconditional love, unconditional light. You are loved. There's nothing to fear. What's going on down here isn't real. So what are you afraid of? Live your life. What you are afraid of is somebody saying, you can't do that. That's bad. Says who? No. Oh, society says that's bad? No, I follow Father. Father told me to live. It's not wrong, and people are living in fear. And religion keeps them living in fear. Well, you're unworthy. You said this, or you masturbated, or you did that. And you're the authority to tell me that? No, that's who my authority is. And he says, no, what I'm doing is just fine. So we have to break down society, and we have to get rid of or stop organized religion from, keeping people living in fear. It's not right. It's people are failing to do what we came here to do, and that is to live.
It is very important because we have it in our heads, and you are right. Religion has put it in our heads that God is this judgmental energy who is just ready to damn us to hell. A lot of religions, and I talk about this on this platform, a lot of religions talk about that we're born in sin even, which is absolutely one of the worst things you can tell a child, right? That they're born into sin. So I love, love, love your message in letting everyone know that is not God. That is not God. And I agree completely. I agree with you completely.
Yeah, he Father just wants us to live. It's like people say, what have you done with your life? Did you live your life to the fullest? How can you live your life to the fullest when you're constantly compressed and forced into this tiny microschool of a bubble? If you're not happy in your marriage, leave, but do it out of love. If you're not happy in your job, quit. If you're not happy with whatever, do it. Go live your life. And you're right that people are caught up on the religion and the sex and suicides. Yes, suicides, go home. Absolutely. 100%. Nobody does not go home, period. So everything I tell people, no matter what situation, do it out of love. Just do it out of love. Like I said, Father is unconditional love and light. Unconditional. If you choose to live in fear, that is your free will. If you choose to believe that Bible and say, I'm going to burn in hell because this, then he's going to allow you to do that. That's a lesson that you're going to have to say. So when I tell people this, it's like when I'm talking, I need all of you just to close your eyes and then free your mind. Your mind is your worst enemy. Get rid of your ego. You're no different than anybody else. We are all the same. We are all one, every single one of us. Those that came 10,000 years ago to us right now, to those that will come here 5,000 years from now, we are all one. We are no different. So, and just keep your ego in check, and then you can feel the love. You can feel, and you've pushed all that, and that's part of our struggle here. We're trying to get rid of the ego or tell him to, and once you do that, you can see the beauty and love in everything.
So, Jason, I wanted to ask you, so it would be assumed that you do not fear death now that you've had this experience. And what I wanted to ask you is, did you have a fear of death prior to this spiritual experience that you've had?
I wouldn't say that, back in the day, I would say, were you afraid to? No, but you always have that hesitation, God, I really don't want to burn alive in a fire or, so you think about these things, but, did I really fear it? No, not that much. But now after having that experience, absolutely not. Death is simply the most beautiful thing you will ever come across. I mean, God saved the best for last. People, he knows the buildup of fear is coming, and or this or that. And but I don't even remember leaving my body. It was just a beautiful transition. Death is only the beginning. Like I said before, we've died thousands of times already. We just don't remember it right now. So no, death is simply beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. It's nothing to fear. Nothing.
Thank you for that, Jason. Do you have, I know you talked about being an empath. Do you have any other abilities that you kind of have known yourself to have since this spiritual experience, or any other projects that you would like to highlight for the viewers?
Sure. Yes, I have become an empath. And it was something that I didn't have before, and it's very hard. See, like when we first started talking, I don't see you the way you see me. I see your soul. I can feel your soul. I can feel your happiness, your sadness, everything. So, it's kind of hard for people to lie to me because I can I can feel it. So I feel your love, and I can see your glowing inside, or people, or when I talk to them, I can feel their pain and their suffering. And it's hard on me because before that, you just, oh, that's just another person. But now I feel everything about them. And that's when I greet somebody now, that's how I greet them. I greet them with their soul. I feel, even though your soul is talking to me, you don't know it, but that's what I feel. So that took me a while to get used to. It's like, why am, I get done with a conversation, I bust out bawling. It's like, I can feel their pain. And they're like, how do you know? I can feel it. I mean, I can literally feel it, like the air I breathe. Psychic, not so much, but I do feel like when my son is here or my angels or my guardians are close, I can feel them. I start to tingle, like your feet are asleep. So it'll start in my higher, lower chest, and work around in me. And, I'm tingling, and, I'll stop what I'm doing. And I'm like, I know you're here. I can feel you guys. I mean, the whole atmosphere will change in here. Sometimes it'll get heavy, not in a bad way, but I know that the energy has changed. So I'm now home. I can feel home. I can feel them. Sometimes I'll see a flash of light go by, so I can see them, and that has changed. I'm now, like I said, I live in both worlds now, so it's difficult at times. You know, um, Sometimes I just want to be the old Jace, but I could never go back to being the old Jason, just because of the truth and the knowledge of the love that we all are. And so I would say I'm a deep, deep empath, where I can feel every ounce of you, So, and there's some I want to be with and hang with, and there's some I'm like, I love you, God bless, but your journey's yours, and you know, I'll pray for you, So
Yes. Thank you for that. So you referenced the book. So tell us a little bit. I know you haven't, quite finished it yet, but tell us a little bit about what you're going to be discussing in your book. And I definitely will have you back on when that's complete.
Yes, I've been tossing it up for a while now. I'm my goal, I wouldn't even say it's a goal. It's a fundamental need that I can't explain. It's just, I want people to be free. I want them to live their lives without fear, anxiety, or depression, because they simply don't exist. And I want people to know that they've never done anything wrong. And that just live your life. So this book is meant, yes, it's going to be about my experience of who I was prior to it, as a child, a teenager, so on and so forth, and into my experience. But I want them to know the truth of who they are, what they are. And I want people to look at this and say, I don't want to be afraid anymore. I'm not this, and that is the intention of my book. I'm going to write about my experience and the stuff that comes down and continuing to be here. And I'm going to face it. There are going to be some things in the book that are going to be hard for people to understand. And most of that is religion, sex, and some other things, abortions. God doesn't care about them. And for the indoctrination that we have all had from a child to now leads us down the wrong path. And I'm here to chop that key off, so you can just continue going straight, which is to Father, to Source, and to love. And I don't want anybody living in fear. It really bothers me when I see that, because you're so much more. We're all so powerful. We are powerful, and we're just living in a primitive body in a very hard incarnation here on Earth. And I don't want people to lose themselves. I want people to free their minds. It's like everybody's living in that quintessential heavy fog bank, like when you're driving a car and you walk and you're in this, and you slow down and you're paranoid, and like, you're so afraid of hitting or doing this, but then all of a sudden, you drive out and there's the sun and you can see, and you're like, that's what I want people to do. Free your mind. Everybody, free your mind, because your mind is your worst enemy. And that's what the book is really going to be about. And, my love for all of you.
That's going to be so exciting. Jason, so exciting. So you let us know when you're complete with that, because I do sense a very high purpose and intention behind it, and we need it. So thank you for that. Oh, I know
Absolutely.
that after seeing this video, people are going to want to contact you, Jason. Sure. Is there a preferred way that you wish to be contacted? Is it social media, email address, and if so, what is that?
They can contact me via my email address, or they can look me up on Facebook. they can message me on, Messenger and say, hey, I saw your video. I would like to set up a time to speak. Eventually that's the way I would like to move to, like when I get done with the book, is to, go out and talk to people, because there's nothing like, you can read somebody's message or video, but to see and interact, because that's what we're meant to do. We're meant to interact and be with one another. And that's when you get the feeling of the love and the hugs and the tears and the crying, and I think that's vitally important, and I want people to feel that. So they can contact me through, Facebook or my email, and I will reach out to each and every one, who decides to.
Go ahead and share your email with us. I'm going to have it in the description box, but go ahead and
yeah. So it'd be my first name, nothing capitalized. So it's Jason, then underscore, again, my last name, Janas, nothing capitalized, at yahoo.com. And then my same name for Facebook, Jason Janas. And, feel free to reach out and contact me there. But, please let me know that you watched the video and that, you would like, some one-on-one time. And I would be more than happy to sit down.
Thank you so much for that. I'm going to have Jason's email address and scrolling in the bottom, and I'm going to also have it in the description box. So for those of you who would like to reach out to him, can most certainly do that. Jason, are there any lasting words that you want to share before our closing remarks?
I love all of you deeply and passionately. And I would like and encourage all of you to break down the dogmatic stigma of society that says good or bad or right or wrong. And that includes religion. Get rid of it, and give yourself to Father. Just love him and live your life. There's nothing on this planet that you can do that is wrong. Quit living in fear, because fear does not exist. It simply does not. It lives here. It controls you. It drives you along with your ego. And I encourage each and every one of you to wake up and look in the mirror and say, Father, I love you. I love myself. And you know what? I am going to live my life. Go do what you want to do and just do it and live it, because that's what we came here to do. And if you're truly happy in what you're doing and you're loving it, there's nothing wrong with it. But if you're not, and you're in a relationship or a marriage, you hate your job, you hate this, then quit it all, leave. If you want to be a monk in Africa, go be a monk in Africa. You want to go to the moon, go to the moon. Do whatever it is that you want to do, but whatever you do, do it out of love. Do it out of love.
What a beautiful message. What a beautiful message. Thank you for that.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
I can.
I do. I feel it.
So
deep.
now I'm going to share you my closing remarks.
Okay.
Jason, since the beginning of time, humanity has needed messengers to pierce through the confusion and deliver the good news of God's love. In this day and age, when we have so many different philosophies and opinions, it is refreshing to have people like you to step forward and simply remind us all of the absolute unconditional love of our Creator. And I thank you for your courage and your tenacity to speak your truth over and over and over again. It has been an honor. It has been an honor having you on the show with us today, sharing your message of comfort with the world. We look forward to engaging with you again after you've written your book. You are more than welcome to join us again. Once that's complete, you can advertise it and we'll soak it up. Thank you for your message of love. There is no higher truth, other than God being love. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor and a privilege to be here. And if I can just reach one person, then it was absolutely worth it. So thank you and God bless.
Yes, and thank you everyone who is viewing this video. Thank you to all the subscribers. Please leave comments. Let us know. Let me know how you're doing, what you got from it. And I just love each and every one of you all. And until the next time, until the next show, I love you. Everyone,
I love you.
beautiful week. All right. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.